You came here to kill me, so do it.
So that was a fucking lie.
Halloween Ends, it was to me a terrible film. I mean, and not just a terrible film, but a terrible Halloween film. And I can't say I was extremely disappointed in it, as Halloween Kills isn't that much better. So I didn't go into this film super excited, anticipating that it would be great or good to begin with, but I love the first two Halloween films, specifically speaking of, the first directed by John Carpenter and the second directed by Rick Rosenthal, who also directed Halloween Resurrection, which is a bit of a guilty pleasure, certainly not on par with the first two. But I would argue a better film, or at the very least more entertaining, with, Buster Rhymes doing karate kicks to Michael Myers and everything. That's more entertaining than anything that was in this film, to be honest with you. With that being said, I really hate seeing the films in this particular franchise turn out to be so mediocre. I mean, the film genuinely feels like a cash grab. This whole trilogy, you could probably argue, was a cash grab. I mean, listen, we all know movies and films are made not just to entertain, but to make a profit. But this did not entertain in any way whatsoever. I mean, these are the three major issues I had with the film. First and foremost, and most importantly, was the story. This film is a classic bait and switch, in an attempt to pass the torch. And by that I mean Michael Myers passing the torch as a killer to another killer. Now, if you like that idea, if you like that concept, then you may like this film. Although, I have to say, even if you do like the concept wasn't quite executed well at all. I mean, but with that being said, I didn't like the concept and I didn't like the execution. The trailers try to make it seem that the main plot of the film is going to be Laurie versus Michael. But it turns out the majority of the film, especially the first 75% or so, focuses completely on the new killer. So with that, it ends up being very difficult for me to watch because I already don't like the concept. So with that, it ended up being a very difficult watch for me, because as soon as I saw where this movie was going early on, I disliked it and nearly checked out right in the first 30 minutes or so. The second major issue I had with the film was the writing and the dialogue. Now, this certainly isn't the worst dialogue I've ever heard in a film, but that's not saying very much at all. The way characters are written in this film, the way they speak, seems so unnatural and unbelievable to me, to be honest with you. I mean, listen, horror films, it's a trope that the side characters, or the characters that get killed, they're typically cheesy or unrealistic and everything, but as long as it's done in a way that's entertaining or at least somewhat believable, then I have no issue with it. But the way it was done in here was just terrible. It was just the characters came across as unnatural, especially the redheaded nurse that you're going to come across if you do watch this film, and even more so the teenage bullies. The third major issue I had with this, and this is a big issue, this was supposed to be a Halloween film. And I mean that in more ways than one. This was supposed to be a horror film. This was supposed to be a slasher film. And it fails at all of those things. I mean, there wasn't enough slashing. There wasn't enough killing. What there was of those was very lackluster and underwhelming. And most of the killing wasn't even done by Michael Myers himself. I mean, there wasn't many scares or suspense. Any scary moments or suspenseful moments were far and few between, and again, very underwhelming. As I said, Michael Myers and Laurie were also sidelined in this film, which was such an odd choice. Bait and switch, as I said, the trailers make it seem like they are going to be the main point of the film, them fighting each other, then going back and forth or something like that. But that was not the case at all. Again, was a very odd choice. And I don't blame the low quality of this film on the actors by any means. I think we all know that Jamie Lee Curtis is a great actress. There's a lot of fine actors in here. But I can't put any blame on the actors. This is one of those movies where it's the studio, it's the director, and the writers that should share the majority of the blame. I think maybe aside from the 2018 Halloween movie that David Gordon Green directed, I think he definitely dropped the ball on Halloween Kills, and most certainly with Halloween Ends. I can honestly say that I'm glad that this franchise is coming to an end. Temporarily, of course, as we all know, they'll eventually resurrect it, to make profit. I mean, I don't think I want to see anything else done with this franchise, and truly, I don't believe there's anything left you can really do with it, and there's nothing you can do to really to do justice to the first two, to the originals. So I'm glad it's coming to an end for now. Unfortunately, there's not really anything positive that I can actually say about this film, as even the showdown between Michael and Laurie at the end of the film it was the best part of the film, but it was very brief. It was underwhelming, and it's not nearly enough to save this movie. So, with all that being said, I don't recommend wasting your money or your time in the theater, and honestly, I don't even recommend streaming it on Peacock unless you're kind of bored, you're kind of just curious, you've got a couple hours to spare, you want to put it on in the background. Sure, why not? With that being said, whether you enjoyed this film or did not enjoy it, or, have no intentions of seeing it at all, let's discuss it more in the comments below. And thanks everyone for watching.